Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Everybody, peace. As you guys know, I'm Sean Cottle, host of the GSMC Basketball Podcast Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We got an interesting show today, guys. First of all, I want to apologize for being an hour late. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but the party arrives when it's meant to arrive, and we are here now, and thank you so much for being patient with us, guys. But got an interesting show that we're going to be we have docked on the schedule for today, but we'll be breaking down some WNBA playoff action, and we're going to be discussing how to be efficient in your training. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and we're also going to be discussing whether Andre Iguodala is a Hall of Famer, and that's actually what we're going to lead our show with today, guys. And before we get started, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by following the link in the ticker below. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar and typing in GSMC Sports Network. That way you can access all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. None of this is possible as you guys are fans, so we're just grateful for all the honor or for all the love and support that you guys show us. And that being said, let's go and get right into it, guys. So, is Andre Iguodala a Hall of Famer? So, Andre Iguodala was recently asked on a podcast whether he feels like he should be in the Hall of Fame, and he said no. He said he feels like he shouldn't be, and then he started naming off guys like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. He said, I'm not in that class with them, and he felt like there's a clear difference between guys like him and guys that are in the Hall of Fame. And it just got me thinking. Is he a Hall of Famer? Is Iguodala a Hall of Famer? So, he's a one-time All-Star, I believe, during the 2009 season or the 2012 season. If I'm wrong about that one, you guys can correct me. 2004-2005 All-Rookie Team, two-time All-Defensive Team, 4-time NBA Champion, and I guys know he was a 14-15 Finals MVP. And we can break this down a couple of ways. His season high, or his career high for minutes per game was 39.9, and that was during the 2008-2009 season. His career high for points in a game was 19.9 during the 07-08 season, and as I said, he was an all-star during the 2011-2012 season, which he averaged 12.4 points per game that year. But quickly, the reason that we're having this discussion about Andre Iguodala being a Hall of Famer is solely because of the fact that he won Finals MVP. And having a Finals MVP on your resume is so potent, and it can do so much for your career. That we're having this discussion about Andre Iguodala being a Hall of Famer simply because he has a Finals MVP on his resume. And if he didn't, then we would not be having this discussion. But not to take anything away from the talent of Andre Iguodala. And Andre Iguodala is a great player, phenomenal player, especially during his early years in Philly, and then also when he was during that first iteration of the Warriors dynasty. Their first 2 championships, he was an integral part of that team. But the only reason we're having this discussion is because he's the Finals MVP, and it just goes to show you how important that is the most important piece of hardware for any player's career. Is that Finals MVP? In terms of guys that are in that top class, or being on the cusp of being on the Hall of Fame, because the most important piece of hardware in Steph Curry's trophy room is that Finals MVP trophy. If he doesn't have that Finals MVP trophy, we're not talking about Steph Curry as possibly the greatest point guard of all time, or even him being in discussion for top 25 players of all time. He's not even in that discussion if he doesn't have that Finals MVP. And the Finals MVP can do so much for a player because it is the most important trophy that someone can have, because it shows that you were able to rise to the occasion and perform your best level of play at the most important time, being the NBA Finals. And it shows also that your level of play had a direct impact on your team's success on the biggest stage in the NBA, the NBA Finals. And that's why the NBA Finals MVP trophy is so coveted, and it's the most important, like I said, it's the most important piece of hardware that any player can have. And Andre Iguodala is a perfect example of that, because him having won that, whether you think he should have won it or not, he won it, and him having that Finals MVP trophy alone shows us how important that trophy is, because we're having a discussion about this. And it just goes to show how important that piece of hardware is. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think Andre Iguodala is Hall of Famer? Share your thoughts in the comment section, because I'd love to hear about it. Personally, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but I wanted to just use this as a backdrop to show how important that Finals MVP trophy is. It can put people in discussions in their rooms that they might not necessarily deserve to be in, but they're in there nonetheless because they have the key to that room, which is the Finals MVP trophy. But let me know what you guys think. But with that being said, guys, in our next topic, we're going to be discussing the biggest takeaways from the Game 1 matchup between the New York Liberty and the Connecticut Sun and some WNBA playoff action. So guys, stick around. You're not going to miss any of that. We will be right back. everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we discussed whether Andre Iguodala is actually a Hall of Famer and just how important the Finals MVP trophy can be for one's resume, and why that's the most coveted piece of hardware in the NBA. But guys, be sure to stick around for the last segment of our show as well, where we discuss whether the correct ways to train and whether you're maximizing your time while on the court training. But in this segment, guys, we're going to talk about the biggest takeaways from the Game 1 matchup between New York Liberty and the Connecticut Sun. But before we do that, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar and typing in GSMC Sports Network. That way you can gain access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below at streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out our other shows as well: the GSMC Baseball Podcast, GSMC College Football Podcast, GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast, and the GSMC NFL Podcast as well. All of our hosts provide great insight and content on sports that they're covering, and it's an honor to be working alongside them. So, Connecticut Sun, New York Liberty, Game 1. Let's go ahead and just recap this one real quick, guys. Let's see what the biggest takeaways are. So, as you guys know, the Connecticut Sun beat the New York Liberty on the road in Game 1 to open up their WNBA semifinals playoff matchup. And it was a close game up until the third quarter, and then the Connecticut Sun pulled away and showed their playoff experience throughout that time frame over the course of that game. And if we look at the tail of the tape, the Connecticut Sun, as usual, were led by DeWanna Bonner, who had 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Ilsa Thomas, who didn't shoot the ball particularly well, only went 4 of 11 from the field, 8 points, but did have 7 rebounds and 10 assists. Tiffany Hayes had 12 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Rebecca Allen had 18 points and 7 rebounds, and Tisha Heidemann had 12 points and 4 assists and 2 rebounds. Olivia Nelson-Dota came off the bench with 4 points, and Tiffany Harris also came off the bench and had 4 points and an assist as well. So, the biggest takeaway from this game was what I talked about when I said why I felt Connecticut wouldn't be able to get past Minnesota in the first round, and that was the lack of scoring and playmaking from the guards. And Rebecca Allen, like I said, stepped up and had 18 points. Tisha Heidemann had 12 points as well. And Harris come off the bench at 4 points, though. She could be more aggressive. I mean, she only shot 2 shots. And Carrington, who was in contention for 6th Player of the Year, only played 7 minutes and only shot the ball twice. And so it still didn't get much production off the bench. But the guards, like I said, starting guards for Connecticut were not only efficient, but they were aggressive as well throughout the entirety of the game, and did a good job putting pressure on the Liberty guards on the defensive end, making them work. And if you can make those Liberty guards work on the defensive end, then it's just going to tire them out on the offensive end. Because we know that, though Vandersloot and Ionescu are both passable defenders, good defenders, that's not what they're known for, and that's not what their reputation is. So if you can make them work and you can attack them at all times on the when they're on defense, then it's just going to tire them out. It's going to make them less efficient on the offensive end. and that's what Connecticut did. They did a good job of getting rotation on the ball, swinging the ball, making the ball move from wing to wing, causing the help side of the defense to be in bad positioning, and they did a good job rebounding as well. They had 35 total rebounds. So they out rebounded the Liberty by 5. Shot the ball 44% from the field. Only committed 8 turnovers compared to the Liberty's 14. And while we're on the Liberty were led by, like I said, Sabrina Ionescu, who had 12 points, Vanessa who had 7, Jonquil Jones, who had 14, Brown Stewart, who had 19 points, but she shot 725 from the field. And the Liberty only got 8 points total off the bench from Thornton, who had 6, and Marina Johannes, who had 2 points. So once again, Liberty didn't get much protection from the bench either. But the Connecticut Sun might have laid out the blueprint for how to beat the Liberty, and that is, frankly, something we talked about before: applying pressure to the guards of the Liberty, making them work on the defensive end, and getting out in transition, pushing tempo. This was a New York Liberty team that has struggled throughout the season in transition defense, and this is what Connecticut did. Made them work, made them push them out in transition, made them tire them out on defensive end so they're less efficient on offensive end. But it was great to see. It's great to see this performance right here from the Connecticut Sun. And I'm not going to change my pick. I still have the Liberty winning this series in 5, but the Connecticut Sun, they have championship pedigree. They have a lot of playoff experience amongst that group, and they know what it takes to get the job done. And it's going to be an exciting series to watch. And let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the Connecticut Sun can pull off this upset of the New York Liberty in the series? And do you think that the Connecticut Sun have laid out the blueprint for what it takes to beat Liberty? Share your thoughts in the comment section. But in our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the biggest takeaways from the Game 1 matchup between the Aces and the Wings. Another exciting series right there, guys. So be sure to stick around. You're not going to miss any of that. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. In case you missed the first two segments of our show, we talked about whether Andre Iguodala is actually a Hall of Famer. And in the second segment, we talked about the Game 1 matchup between the Connecticut Sun and the New York Liberty, and we discussed our biggest takeaways from that matchup. But in this series, guys, or in this segment, guys, we're going to be discussing our biggest takeaways from the Game 1 matchup between the Las Vegas Aces and the Connecticut Sun. Highly anticipated matchup between these two young teams. One burgeoning on a possible championship contender, while the other teams looking to repeat as WNBA champ from last year. And this was a game dominated by the performance of A'ja Wilson, who had 34 points, and including 14 points in the third quarter, which is when Vegas started to pull away. A'ja Wilson also had 8 rebounds and 4 blocks and a plus-minus of 26. Kia Stokes also had 2 points, 6 rebounds. Chelsea Gray had 13 points, 4 assists. Kelsey Plum racked in 25 points and 5 rebounds and 4 assists. And Jackie Young also had 19 points and 7 assists and 10 rebounds. Alicia Clark had 4 points, come off the bench, and that was really the only scoring they had for Vegas come off the bench. But we talked about the depth of Vegas before and how they don't rely on depth and they're so top heavy that they don't necessarily need to. But if we look at Dallas, Dallas just didn't shoot the ball well. When I was watching the game, the ball stuck a lot, man. There were points in the game where the ball stuck in Enrique Iguodala's hands, which is their primary playmaker. The ball just stuck too many times and made the offense stagnant and for Dallas. And what you started to see is some players who weren't getting touches on the offense end, they try to overcompensate for that by cheating or going for steals where they didn't have good positioning on the defensive end, and there being lapses, just lapses in thinking on the defensive end for Dallas. And Dallas had an opportunity to steal one on the road, and they blew this one. But there are things that can be fixed. Satu Sabali had 16 points, but only shot 5 of 14 from the field. And Natasha Howard had 11 points, while also only shooting 5 of 14 from the field. Like we said, we were kicking Wally. Wale had 12 points and 6 assists, but she only shot 4 of 14 from the field. So, your 3 best players did not shoot the ball particularly well, and they still only lost by 14 points. And though their bench played particularly well. Obviously, Sims had 10 points off the bench. Kataji Brown also had 10 points, and Maddie Sykers had 10 points as well off the bench. So, but this is a Dallas team that typically goes deep, has a lot of depth, and that's why I said that. If you're you're this Dallas team, you should be applying pressure. You should be looking at the trap, or not trap, but trap off the all ball screens on this Vegas team, really making them work. Because you have the depth where you can make adjustments and you can make substitutions if people get tired. But they didn't do that. It just seemed like they didn't really. There were too many lapses, what we like to call my bad plays, where you can get momentary lapse in judgment and you allow yourself to get backdoor on a cut, or you have a my bad play and you forget to go. You go under the screen when you're supposed to go over the top, and they end up shooting a wide open 3 off the dribble. Too many of those my bad plays for Dallas. That happened in the third quarter when we know this is when Vegas likes to go on their run. This is when they start to separate from teams, and that's what happened. But Dallas can limit their turnovers and continue having fluidity within their offense, which is what made them successful against Atlanta. Trusting each other, not overworking for the difficult shot, but getting that one more pass from the wing to the corner, or driving the kick as opposed to driving to score, and allowing the defense to collapse and then kick it out. Trusting the offense that allowed them to be successful in the season, the offense that allowed them to be the 3rd most proficient offense in the league throughout the season. doing those things that got them there, trusting the process, trusting the system that got them there. In this moment, it will prove beneficial for Dallas. And like I said, in their preview, I picked Vegas to win this series in 5 games, and I'm sticking with that. Dallas is a young team, and they're going to have some. They still have a lot of progression, a lot of learning experience. This is a learning moment for them, and I think they're going to make a lot of adjustments during this next game. But Vegas looked dominant, but this is also why I had Vegas as my preseason favorite to win the championship. Because like I continue to say and will say, this Vegas team is going to go down as the best assembled roster in WNBA history. Mind you, they're doing all this without Candace Parker. So nothing really surprising here. But those are my takeaways. But let me know what you guys think. What's your biggest takeaways from this game, for this matchup right here, from this game 1 matchup? But in our next segment, guys, we're just going to be discussing, are you maximizing your efficiency in your training sessions, and how to better do that if you aren't. So, guys, be sure to stick around. We got all that covered for you. You're not going to miss it. Be right back. Alright, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first couple segments of our show, we just discussed whether Andre Iguodala is a Hall of Famer, while also breaking down the Game 1 matchups between the Liberty and the Sun, and the Las Vegas Aces and the Dallas Swings, and some WNBA playoff action. And in this last segment, guys, I want to go over how to be detailed in your training and how to maximize your efficiency. But before we get into that, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button as well so you can stay up to date on all of this content. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar, and typing in GSMC Sports Network. That way you can gain access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the section below. Streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network /tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network /tip. None of this is possible as you guys are fans. We're just so grateful for all the love and support that you show us, and it's an honor to be here and to have this platform to share my thoughts and knowledge of the game of basketball with you guys. So that being said, are you being detailed in your training? I was unsure about what I wanted to talk about in our last segment today, but after reflection, I thought about it. This morning when I was working out on the basketball court this morning, I thought to myself, okay, what's my focus point? What's my focus point for this week? Because the season's starting to come up, and I'm at the point now where I'm just touching up on a lot of my skill sets and not necessarily adding anything right now, but more so just making sure everything is crisp and in tip-top shape so I'm ready for the season start. So, the first couple days this week, I told myself, okay, I'm going to focus solely on just my touch, going to my floaters and going to my runners. That's it. And that's going to be my focus point. So, I go through my usual routine, my 15-minute ball handling, my shot prep around the basket, and then I start going into my floaters. And as I finish the first couple reps and drills into my floater, I started to tell myself, maybe I can add a couple pull-ups in here as well. And, just to see a couple shots going off the pull-up, just because. But in that moment, I had to retreat back or circle back to the purpose of why I was there, or the purpose of this workout, and that was touch, floaters, and runners. Because what happens is if I start to give time towards the pull-up, that's taking time away from what I need to touching up on, what I need to focus on in that moment, and that's the floaters and the runners. And we all need to be intentional about what we're working on in our workouts, in our training sessions. Not just doing it for the sake of doing it, and not just doing it just to kill time, but actually being intentional about it. So, if it takes you 2 hours to work on that touch on your floater, coming off, attacking from the wing and like swing stepping and getting back to the block, if you need to spend 2 hours just on that movement right there so you can find that touch, because that's a realistic attack angle you'll get, then you need to spend 2 hours doing that. But if it takes you 30 minutes to work on your touch, going off 2 feet, getting into the middle of the paint, going into your left-handed floater, then you spend 30 minutes on that. But just being intentional with each rep and being intentional about why you're there. But don't start adding things to your workout session. Don't start doing things in your workout session just because you quote-unquote feel like it. Be productive while you're there. And be intentional about why you're there, because then you start to waste reps. And when you start to waste reps, you start to waste your time. When you start to waste your time, you are no longer efficient. And if you're no longer efficient, you don't make money. If you don't make money, it's because you don't have a job. So it all cycles in and it all connects. So we need to be intentional about why we're doing these things and why we are on the court, why we're in those training sessions. And I use that story of me solely just focusing on touch and my floater and my runner, and then you break it down. I broke it down, so I spent 20 minutes just working on my runner, then 15 minutes just working on my floater off of 1 foot, then 15 minutes on my floater off of 2 feet. But next thing you know, I'm in there for like an hour 15 minutes, and I've gotten up 300, 400 shots just off the floaters and runners. And that's just one aspect of my game. And then you start to see how detailed you can be with your progression, but you have to be intentional about it. Everything you do, everything. And if you're being intentional about, even to the point of how you're picking up the ball going into your runner. So am I going to my low pickups, or am I going to my high pickups? Am I working on my extension, on my attack? Am I working on like that skip pickup where you go off 2 and you kind of go into your skip into your runner or floater? Am I working on going off the glass or no glass? You can really get detailed about it, but if whatever you do, it has to be detailed. So if you want your focus to be, okay, everything's going to be off the glass, then everything needs to be off the glass. Make or miss, you need to work on those reps. But you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. And you need to be intentional about what you're doing, not just doing it for the sake of doing it, not just doing it just to get reps up, but why are we getting these types of reps up? Why are we attacking at this angle? Why are we not adding any dribble moves before our attack It's normally so we can just focus on the rep itself, on the actual feel, the actual motion of that rep. Because we're just worried about that. We're not worried about the game-like movement. We're just worried about getting the feel of it down, getting the rhythm of it down for that shot, for that float, for that runner. So there's purpose behind everything that you're doing. And as an athlete, especially a collegiate athlete and a professional athlete, and even in high school, in any level, you need to be intentional about what you're doing. And the younger you can get that sort of thought process, mindset into your head, the better off you will be further down the road in your career. So getting this understanding down, understanding I gotta be intentional about every action, every rep, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. It just makes it worthwhile, and it makes you more efficient, and you don't waste any time. So many guys just waste time when they get on the court again there, and then they shoot a couple pull-ups, then shoot a couple catch and shoot threes, then they'll do a couple layups, and then 40 minutes later there's no purpose, and now they're off the court, they're walking off the court because they feel like they've done something, but in actuality you haven't done anything. So we have to really be intentional both about why we're doing what we're doing on the court, but also in life in general. And so often we make these analogies because sports is the greatest representation of life itself. And that's why, however you are in your personal life, or however you are in your sport, 9 times out of 10, that's a reflection of how you are in your personal life. Very rarely can people separate the two, and it's almost impossible in terms of your work ethic. I say, but yeah. But let me know what you guys think about that. How do you guys maintain your detail in your training? How do you guys maintain efficiency in your workouts? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. But guys, that is all we have for our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Apologies for the late start. We had some technical difficulties, but we arrived when we were meant to arrive, and it was still a great show despite the fact. So thank you so much, guys, for being patient and sticking with us. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar and typing in GSMC Sports Network. And excuse me. If you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. None of this is possible if you guys are fans, so we're just so grateful for all the love and support that you show us, and it's an honor to be here. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our other sports shows as well. GSMC Baseball Podcast, GSMC College Football Podcast, GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast, and the GSMC NFL Podcast as well. All of our hosts provide great content and insight on the sports that they're covering, and it's an honor to be working alongside them. They're some of the best in the game when it comes to media personalities, sports personalities. But that being said, guys, that's all we have for today. We'll be back again same time tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and until next time, guys, peace.